But back to the travel news. And despite Heathrow Airport recording its best ever February with a 5.5% increase in passenger numbers, room per profit at nearby hotels fell by 4.3% as a result of falling revenue per available room and rising costs. This is according to the latest figures released by Hotstats, who provide a profit and loss benchmarking service to hoteliers from the UK, Europe and the Middle East. Heathrow Airport accommodated a record 5.27 million passengers in February. However, a 2 percentage point increase in achieved average room rate was not sufficient to offset a 1.7 percentage point decline in room occupancy, and revenue per available room at hotels at Heathrow Airport fell by 0.2% to £57.21. Whilst hotels at Heathrow achieved rate growth in both individual leisure, up 3.1%, and group leisure, up 10%, volume dropped in both these key segments. In spite of the 0.2% decline in rooms revenue, as well as a 2.6% drop in conference and banqueting revenue, hotels at Heathrow were able to record a 0.3% increase in the total revenue this month, which are primarily thanks to the 2.1% year-on-year increase in food and beverage revenue. So there you go, they're putting up the food at hotels. However, this revenue increase was wiped out by a 5.5% year-on-year increase in payroll. As a result, profit levels at hotels and airports fell by 4.3% in February to £25.57 per available room, equivalent to 30.1% of total revenue. So now you know how much hotels on average make per room, so perhaps there might be some wiggle room next time you try and book. This could be good news. It could be very good news. The Federal Communication Commission, FCC Chairman Ajit Pal, has come out against voice calls in the sky, insisting that flying public are overwhelmingly against it. The FCC is a US government agency, so generally whatever the US says, that's what happens. A 2013 FCC proposal by the previous chairman, Tom Wheeler, allowed in principle the future use of cell phone calls on flights, but it would be left to the discretion of individual airlines. Although there is little appetite for it, especially from me, either from the flying public or the airlines themselves, Pai wants to ditch the plan altogether. He said, "I do not believe that moving forward with this plan is in the public's interest. Taking it off the table permanently will be a victory for Americans across the country who, like me, value a moment of quiet at 30,000 feet. I stand with airline pilots, flight attendants and America's flying public against the FCC's ill-conceived 2013 plan to allow people to make cell phone calls on planes. If the new chairman gets his way, it would not affect the current use of devices during flights when in airline mode." I've asked the question before, but what do you think? Are you for or against being able to make phone calls on the plane? Just travelling down to London on the train with people using their phones in hands-free mode and shouting at the phone and hearing the other end of the conversation is enough to drive me nuts. I couldn't imagine how awful it would be at 30,000 feet, but you might think different. You might be wanting to keep in touch with everybody. Well, let me know, facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. And by the way, if you do want to keep in touch and make phone calls on planes, you're wrong. But let me know why you're wrong at the Facebook page. There have been renewed calls to have school holidays staggered to reduce premium rates for holidays. This follows the landmark ruling against the dad, John Platt. He lost his case in the Supreme Court, which set a precedent by ruling that children should not be taken out of school for a holiday without permission. Business Minister Margot James told the Sun newspaper that term time holiday dispute will only be solved when schools start to stagger their terms and not necessarily have this long summer break for which there is no real need these days. The minister's comments came after former Education Secretary Michael Gove launched a clampdown on term time absence. Sorry, he was the person who launched the clampdown on term time absences when he was Education Secretary, and he is now championing staggered holidays. In a column for The Times, he said, "Schools now have the freedom to vary term times, Schools that opted for a shorter summer break with longer holidays at other times would not only help parents beat the tourist sharks, but they would also ensure that more of what was learned in the summer term was retained in the autumn. The Father Platte will face magistrates now in the Isle of Wight, again following the ruling. They originally overturned the £120 fine for taking his daughter to Disney World in Florida in 2015, which started the legal battle. After Gove's comments in the Times, ABTA Chief Executive Mark Tanzir has written a letter to the paper defending the industry. He said, "The reason that prices are so much higher in the summer months is due to high demand. It's not just British holiday makers who want to travel this time, but many of our European neighbours who choose to holiday in July and August when good weather is virtually guaranteed. In low season, many hotels, airlines and other sectors of the industry have to discount prices to encourage people to travel." Instead, ABTA said its members have long advocated the dates of the school holidays should be staggered by region in a coordinated way. This is something that I think they do in France, doing research with people holidaying in France, trying to make sure they're not in the school holidays. I did find that certain regions in France did have holidays at different times of the year. ATOL chairman Derek Moore said Gove's comments were a classic example of someone who is opening their mouth and speaking without knowing anything about the industry they're discussing. He said he clearly doesn't understand how the industry works, as taking 2 and 2 and getting 5. But what are your thoughts about school holidays and staggering them, or reducing the price of school holidays by raising the prices at other times? My own personal feeling is if you reduce the school holiday prices by increasing prices elsewhere, there are people who want to travel in July and August but can't. But if there's a little price difference between travelling in June than there is July or August and September, then they're going to want to go flying then too. So then you're going to have families saying there's no availability for anything because there's too many people without children taking holidays in that time. I don't think there's any way of actually winning this argument, but are you for high prices in the school holidays or are you against it? Facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show and let me know. Checking it out before you check in on the John Guinn Travel Show on ukhealthradio.com. Before we come to the travel tips from Simon Reed, the journalist with the I newspaper, just two stories about airlines. And British Airways is transforming its customers' airport experience by becoming the first UK airline to introduce automated biometric technology throughout to the airport, with the launch of a self-service boarding gates. Following a successful trial last June, the first 3 boarding gates for UK domestic flights departing from Heathrow Terminal 5 are now open, and more than 4,000 customers have already benefited from the new technology. BA say these gates create a smoother journey for customers as they travel through the airport, with travellers scanning their own boarding pass when they arrive at the gate and simply walking through to the aircraft. A digital face scan of the customer is recorded when they travel through security, and when they arrive at the gate, their face is matched with this representation when they present their boarding passes, allowing them to board the aircraft. Safety and security is at the core of the biometric facial recognition technology, and British Airways equipment is more advanced than this alternative systems currently used by other airlines and airports. 3 more British Airways self-boarding gates will open at each domestic departure stand each week until mid-June, with a view to roll out the scheme on international flights in the future. Introduction of the new gates is part of a wider investment into new technology that will enhance the experience British Airways customers have during their time at the airport. BA has also opened self-service bag drop points at Gatwick and Heathrow, and later this year will introduce an improved, more streamlined connection area at T5. This week, the first wing opened at T5, an exclusive redesigned check-in area for premium customers, including a dedicated private security channel with direct lounge access for the first time. Troy Warfield, British Airways Director of Customer Experience, said, "Our customers have told us that they want the ability to simplify and speed up their journeys through the airport. The addition of self-boarding gates along with self-service bag drop points are just 2 of the ways in which we are investing in areas of our customers' value most." I've not used them yet. It's probably going to be a very long time before I use them. But if you're one of the first thousands of people who've used these gates at Heathrow, please share your experience at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Now on to Monarch, which is a low-cost airline and holiday company. The airline has announced the addition of more routes to its winter schedule for 2017-18, with flights from all 5 of its UK bases, which is Birmingham, Leeds Bradford, Gatwick, Luton and Manchester. On sale now are popular ski routes including Turin, Salzburg, Innsbruck, Lyon and Grenoble, as well as ski destinations London Luton to Ovda, the gateway to Eilat and the Red Sea. So Ovda's in Israel. It's a military airport as well, so it's not quite as straightforward as you think, but it is proven a popular way of getting to the Red Sea, especially with Sharm being out of action. More flights have been added to the popular winter sun routes to the Canaries and destinations to mainland Spain, such as Malaga and Alicante. The airline will be extending its flying programme from Manchester to Kittilä in the Finnish Lapland, with scheduled flights now available for January and February next year. This comes following the success of Monarch's Arctic Experience programme launched from Gatwick last winter. There's now an extended range of Lapland holidays available through Monarch Holidays from both Gatwick and Manchester airports. So the routes released for sale, are you ready? Birmingham Salzburg, Birmingham Turin. These are both one time a week and the prices start from £39. Gatwick to Friedrichshafen, which is once a week, £35. Gatwick to Grenoble, 4 times a week, £35. Gatwick to Geneva, 3 times a week, £29. Gatwick to Innsbruck, 4 times weekly, £35. Gatwick to Lyon, 1 times a week, £35. These are all from prices. These ain't the prices you may necessarily pay. Gatwick Turin, once a week, £35. Luton to Ovda, once a week for £89. From £89. Manchester to Grenoble, twice a week from £39. Manchester to Innsbruck, twice a week from £39. Manchester to Naples, twice a week, with the first flight being the 30th of March 2018 from £91. Manchester to Turin, once a week from £39. Of course, prices will vary depending on the time of year you're flying. The Monarch's head of network development commented that we are pleased to be putting the majority of our ski flights on sale, as well as providing more choice of our most popular winter destinations. In total, another 430,000 seats are now available for winter 2017-18. Customers now have a wide range of popular ski, winter sun and city break destinations to choose from when booking their holidays. The Monarch's winter schedule for 2017-18 has already seen more frequencies to some of the airline's most popular leisure destinations, with more sociable flight times catering perfectly for customers wishing to enjoy a short city break, a ski holiday or an extended winter sun holiday. The remainder of the flights for the winter 2017-18 will be released shortly, but you can find out more at monarch.co.uk. So earlier in the show we heard from ATOL about what an ATOL is and how they came across some figures. They did a interview session and then they had an expert along board, the ATOL representative, Simon Reed, who does consumer advice in the I newspaper. And now we're going to hear from Simon with some of the tips he has for you who want to make sure you don't have any unexpected costs with your next holiday. So Simon, how much of a family holidays budget is spent on unanticipated costs?
Well, the latest research suggests it's more than £500 disappears. This is cash that people just don't anticipate properly.
Does that mean that families find it difficult to budget, to keep track of what they're spending?
Well, it means they're not really planning properly. They're not really preparing for the unexpected costs that are going to hit them. This is things such as extra parking fees, extra money for baggage. There could be costs at their destination. There's all sorts of extras that people don't really take account of.
What should holiday makers do to make sure they do keep this in mind when they're budgeting for their holiday?
Well, the simple truth is that people spend hours choosing the right holiday. They don't spend much time making sure that all the prices they're aware of. So it's a question of checking whether there are extras, whether their baggage fits the right size and weight, and making sure that they know all the anticipated costs are going to be, such as when using plastic abroad, knowing that